Point of order. Notice is hereby given in accordance to General Law 39, Section 23A, that a special meeting of the Lawrence Redevelopment Authority will be held on Thursday, February 13th, 2025 at 5 p.m. This meeting will be held at 255 Essex Street, first floor, Lawrence, Mass. 01840, pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 5th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This public meeting of the LRA is also being conducted via remote participation. Members of the public attending this meeting virtually will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during the portion of the hearing designated for public comment. Use the link below. Roll call, please.
Ramon Quezada,
Present.
Anna Medina,
Present.
Sarah Perez,
Present.
Pedro Tejada,
Present.
Eric Walker.
Present. We'll start with the presentation. We have the order. Yes, hello. Good, you're ready.
Yes. Hi. Good evening, everyone,
Good
and
evening.
thank you for allowing us to present this evening with regards to the project at 115-139 Common Street. My name is Juan Yepes from Yepes Properties. My brother unfortunately wasn't able to be here. He's on travel. But with me is a dear friend, someone who we've been working with for many years, Gary Seidel from Bell Tower Commercial Real Estate Group. Gary and the property management have helped us with regards to the leasing, managing the development of properties, and just attracting tenants also to some of our commercial properties that we've acquired in the city since we came in 2003. A little brief history on us. My brother and I own a computer company with 7 locations in the Americas. We employ close to 150 employees worldwide. Locally, we hire about 50 employees that have all been with us for an average of about 10 to 15 years. Some of the projects that we've done, Marston Medical Center up by the gas company. It was an abandoned mill building when we acquired it. And now we've got it's a vibrant, fully occupied medical building with tenants as Lawrence General, Tufts Medical, Boston Eye, and so forth. Throughout the years, we've acquired different properties that have been either abandoned or not to the best use of the property. Such as the J.J. Levis Paper Company on Methuen Street. The Levis family would operate their manufacturing facility and warehouse there, and now it's fully leased out with Lawrence, Leahy Medical being an anchor tenant for behavioral medicine, which is something that's been crucial to the Merrimack Valley and the state. This project that we're looking to present and do here in the city of Lawrence is a total of 5 floors, 32 mixed apartments for a total of 69,000 square feet. The breakdown is 24 2-bedroom units and 8 1-bedroom units. We will offer 39 parking spaces on site. The unique thing that I think my brother and I are looking to do for the community is allow sell these as condos, and we're basically looking to make them very affordable to allow people to obtain their first home ownership in the city. And I think it's important with all the new redevelopments going on in the city of Lawrence, especially on Essex Street, is to try attracting and keeping our youth and the younger generations in the community, to attract them to go to local restaurants as they're being redeveloped, local bars, and just keep the business and the residents here locally. If you want, you can switch to the next. This project we're anticipating, if it's awarded to us from the day of award, and once the transaction happens with the city, it would take us roughly about 16 months, from start to, end. That would include the design work from our architects, from our engineers, and then, the build out of the whole, facility.
So, the other project that we recently completed that Blue and Juan own, you may have seen it, it's on the canal, on the corner of Canal and Union Street. This was a mixed-use facility, that has 30 apartments and 3 commercial spaces there. And actually, our architects here, who had a lot to do with the design and everything to do with the design and finishes, so we.
RGC.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And RTC's here too, Serrano, we had an amazing team doing that. The point of that is that, you know, the thought that goes into these types of projects, we would carry that over into Common Street. So it's a high level of finishes, it's a strict, you know, protocol when it comes to environmental efficiency, sound, you know, making sure that people can live, you know, in these are downtown locations, so being able to comfortably live in their apartments without the concern of noise is a big thing. So a lot of thought goes into the design and structure of the property, and the intention here is to continue to have those high-end finishes that our residents deserve at affordable pricing. You know, we can see the demand and the rental prices and where they're going, and so it's really important for us that our residents are able to comfortably live here and afford those apartments. So we actually put together, so again, like Juan said, there'll be a mix of 1 and 2 bedroom apartments, keeping our youth and young families here and vibrant. And so we actually just put together a video on the finishes for this other property, 215 Canal Street. It's about a minute long. We'll show that to you so you get a sense of like what we can do with a site like this.
Would you like to live in a brand new modern apartment in the heart of Lawrence? Let me show you 215 Canal Street.
Oh, that's all right.
Offering 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments to best suit your family size. Each of our units is designed to reduce street noise with features like stainless steel appliances, granite countertop, double vanity bathrooms, a breakfast bar, and off-street parking. An ideal location for commuters less than a mile away from Interstate 495. I'm Vlad with Bell Tower Commercial Real Estate Group. Call me, I'd love to show you around.
That's meant to give you an idea of like, you know, what we plan on delivering for any of the residents at the site.
At this time, we'd like to open it up to any questions. Yes.
So Ramon Quesada, when you say affordable, what do you mean by affordable?
Well, we would look at what our cost is and add, you know, a small percentage. We're not looking to say if the apartment roughly costs, I'm just giving you rough ideas.
Yeah.
If it costs 400,000 and market rate's 800, we're not looking to sell it for like 775. It would probably be like 550, 600,000, something that we're able to recover what our investment is and make a little bit of profit. But not, you know, we value the importance of home ownership. And when I mentioned earlier that we have hired and have on staff probably about 50 local residents, a lot of our employees have been able to buy homes, which we feel very proud and happy for, and build equity through their real estate transactions. So we want to make sure that, you know, others in the community can share in that opportunity as well too, which we think it's extremely important.
I didn't hear anything about parking spaces, or I might have missed.
So,
it.
so we have 39 spaces on the first floor. That would be for the residents.
What about commercial space?
We don't plan on doing any commercial
No
space.
commercial.
Okay, there's a brief question.
Yes,
The size of the units, in terms of square footage. The 200 one.
I think the average square feet of the units is roughly about 800 to 1,000. To give you an idea, on the project that we just did, that Gary mentioned at the corner of Canal Street, our 1 bedrooms are about 800 square feet, our 2 bedrooms are about 950 to 1,000. And our 3 bedrooms that we have there, can get up to 1,300 square feet, which they're all generous, very good size, apartments. We would prefer, given, the residents, larger apartments than trying to jam in more apartments, which we could have easily have done.
One final question. Any incentives and tax subsidies that you may be looking at? And so this is strictly.
This is strictly financed, through my brother and myself. Yeah, we're not looking for any state, no historic, no tax incentive, no, we're not looking for anything in particular.
Time frame was 18 months or 24 months, is that correct?
66, about 16 months, once, an award and whatever paperwork, needs to get finalized through the city, about 16 months.
Podium built or stick?
I think it'd be podium. I think we would dive into that a little bit more, once we fully engage, but it'd probably be podium.
Energy efficient, solar panels, anything of that, or?
So we have started, putting solar panels on some of the properties that we own here in the city. And we would definitely, be putting solar panels on this property.
There's a question, or a comment on Zoom.
My question is, good evening, my name is James Karras, and I'm a consultant to the Lawrence Redevelopment Authority. Can you talk a little bit about public incentives that you plan to use to make the units, quote unquote, affordable? What are you going to be applying for? What kind of public incentives will you need?
Are you referring to maybe like some, state grants or federal grants or?
That's with all due respect, that's my question to you. What incentives do you plan to apply for?
We don't plan on applying for any incentives.
Okay, thank you.
Final question. In terms of outreach to local employers, or excuse me, contractors, is that what percentage of the buildup would you be potentially assigning to?
So we try doing as much as we possibly can with local companies. So for example, I think Gary mentioned earlier, we used Studio Design 26, they were from Lowell. We used Serrano here from Lawrence. We bought our doors and as much as we possibly could from Jackson Lumber. We might have bought some other items from like Deer Flooring here on Essex Street. So as much as we possibly can, and it makes economic sense to do so, we try buying local and keeping the business local.
What's that?
All right, well, thank you guys, we appreciate it.
think we can move on to item 2.
That's special.
Six last minute.
Yes. Yeah, I think we should take them all as a whole.
Okay.
We're not really, say tonight.
Right.
And we know what we do.
Right.
And go ahead.
Right.
The attorney to educate everyone.
Yes.
They would like you. Okay, cool. Thanks for
Please.
Sure, sure. So,
Attorney, do you want me to tell you who was last week? Or you'll do it at that?
sure, go ahead, yes. Yeah.
So last week, possible 3D presented. Joe, which is Johan Lopez. New Lawrence Development, which is Jimmy Salama. Serrano and Serrano. Studio 26, which was Anabi Levy. In Welkbridge, which was Socrates de la Cruz. And then tonight was, Juan Yepes, Mainstream Road.
So, yeah, I think for everyone here, interested parties, the plan was to start deliberations tonight and maybe even reach some decisions on who to select. The board has, I think the feeling of the board is that there are some issues that we're dealing with city council. As I think everybody knows here, we are conducting this RFP pursuant to an urban renewal plan. I assume everyone who's participated in this process has read the urban renewal plan, so you know that we do have the authority, the LRA has the authority to conduct this RFP and to transfer these properties. But we are working out some details, and we feel that the best most cautious and conservative approach here is to iron out and resolve those issues that we have with the various entities in the city before we go ahead and start the process of selecting a proposal and moving into negotiations for transfer of title. So I think that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I think the sentiment of the board is to table the deliberations for a future date while working out some of these legal issues behind the scenes. But needless to say, we fully anticipate on moving forward here. And I hope that these deliberations can begin soon so that the LRA can select one of these proposals. or I should say, for each property that's been identified. And then, and really just get the process moving in the right direction once again. So in any event, I guess we apologize for, the delay that is taking place here, but we're doing the best we can to make sure that once a proposal is selected and the negotiations are finalized, that we can safely and legally transfer title to one of these properties to a developer so that you folks can execute your redevelopment plan. So that's it. I think, Mr. Chairman, I think if one of the members would move to table item number 2, the deliberations on the common street sites, then if that's seconded, the board can have some further discussion and then take a vote on what it wants to do.
Let's take a motion. Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Ramon Quesada,
Aye.
Anna Medina, Sarah Perez.
Aye.
Pedro Tejada.
Aye.
And Eric Walker.
All right. Thank you all for your patience. Hopefully, as we continue to redevelop the city, us going through this process now will make it much smoother as we continue the process. And as we update the urban renewal plan, which we need to start thinking about updating. But we will get there. All right.
Yes, that was an impression that Rhodes was going to present for 7 Canal Street. Is that part of item 2 or a part of a different?
So we're
So I understand the other part of it.
no, that's
That
fine.
was just gonna
Good. It's actually a good question. So I want to make sure we clarify. We are continuing with the presentations.
Okay.
I think we have a series of maybe, is it 4 nights, Marisol, we have? I think this is night number 2. So last week, we heard from several developers for the 2 common street sites. And then the Yepes brothers tonight couldn't make it last week, presented for the common street site. After this particular discussion, we're going to move on to some of the other properties, South Canal, which I know you guys have a presentation plan. So there's no change to that plan. We're going to continue having the presentations, but before we can decide on a winning proposal and start moving into the negotiation phase, we have a few issues to resolve with exactly. So we want to make sure that this gets done right, so that when the winning developer is selected, that developer can feel comfortable.
We can
that-
break ground and get cracking.
Exactly. The investment being made in the city is being made with the blessing of everybody involved. So, and we'll get there. I have no doubt.
Good time.
So we're clear on number 2. Can we go to item 3?
So, so we got a motion to table and that was voted unanimously? Okay. All right.
All right. Item
So I
3.
think, did we tell people a particular time for presentations, Senator?
Excuse me, so the ones from there back these up until 6 o'clock.
Okay, so we should probably wait till 6 o'clock.
Right.
And then just start right at 6.
Should we take a brief recess, about 15 minutes?
Sounds good.
We'll entertain a motion to take a brief recess. Motion made. Get a second.
Second.
Roll call.
Aye.
Ramon, Anna Medina. Sarah Perez,
Aye.
Pedro Tejada.
Aye.
And Eric Walker.
All right. Bear with us, folks. We're gonna take a brief recess. We're moving on to item 3. Presentation.
Right, what do we have up first? So these, okay, so the next round of presentations for the South Canal site, the former Merrimack paper site. So the first up is the side route. Unless you guys want to defer to the end, you want to go now?
We had to go first the last time. That's why we were like, can we be like middle this time? Is that too much to ask? Or
Anybody else?
Yeah, we can go.
How about the-
Thank you.
All right, here we go. Okay, Charter Development Company.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So this is good. No, 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 I just wanted, I didn't know.
Yes. Your chair, you. Good to go? I am. All right. Oh, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us back. I think we were here last, when was that? I think it's like September, was it?
Yeah.
A while ago. Great to be back a couple months later and to meet with a different group. Certainly we're appreciative of your volunteer time this evening. Thank you very much for sticking with it. I know you've got a bunch of meetings coming up in the next couple of weeks, and good luck. Just some quick introductions of the charter team. This is our development associate, Lucas Cowan. This is our founder, CEO, Bob Delholm. Go ahead.
I'm Ed Starzik, Director of Development.
Me too, yes.
I'll introduce you. So I'll do really quick. I just want to give you a little background on who Charter is. We're a Boston-based, nationally recognized remediation and brownfield redevelopment company. We have a near 30-year track record executing on incredibly complex sites like the former Merrimack paper site. We've worked on 35 Superfund sites. We're currently engaged as the redeveloper and as the designated redeveloper on 2 different urban renewal plans. And so really passionate about leveraging our core capabilities and our experience to partner and collaborate with our great gateway cities here in Massachusetts. Just in terms of our capacity and ability to really unlock the full potential of complicated environmentally impaired sites. We're currently active on 515 acres of redevelopment that will unlock close to 11 million square feet of buildable FAR. And that's going to bring 4,500 units of really high quality housing and 180 acres of open space at gateway cities here in Massachusetts. So really appreciate the time to be here in front of you this evening, and we're really excited about what's possible here.
So we're cognizant of the strict 20-minute time limits. So our agenda tonight is going to be pretty brief. We're going to give you a quick reminder update on what the project actually is. We'll walk you through a summary of some of the environmental and geophysical concerns on the site. And then we'll talk you through what we see as the advantages of Charter's proposed approach to this project. So we'll start with a site plan here. This is page 2 of your handout. This is effectively unchanged since what we presented last time, but maybe presented in a slightly different way. So we have a primarily residential project, 3 residential buildings, about 265 to 275 units of housing. 3 buildings. First building, the large one here, building 1 is about 150 units. About 80 units in building 2. Building 3 is somewhere between 40 and 50 units. Building 3 is also a swing building for us, where we see the bottom floor or the bottom 2 floors accommodating small business incubator space and/or space for sort of graduates of incubator programs to blossom into something larger. Our parking is all provided at grade, and
The buildings are 6 stories tall, so about 66, 68, 70 feet. In addition to the buildings, we've really focused on the public realm in this site plan. So we're providing a little bit over an acre of public open space. You can see most of it here is oriented towards the Merrimack River. There's some space here in between the buildings, and then the larger public open space here to the west. This particular point of the site is of interest because that's where the Merrimack River Trail is going to meet the what is it? The Lawrence Manchester Rail Trail, where they're going to come together. As it exists today, there's no provision for the connection of those 2 trails. So we've designed for a connector between those 2 trails in our project, and we'll be able to illustrate that in a minute. This is a illustrative plan of the site looking from the west. So you're looking from the rail trail back into the site. You can see building 2 to the right, building 3 to the left. You got your small business space down here. We're imagining a number of amenities to complement the open space uses. So a public playground, a shade pavilion, place to picnic, place to eat, space for food trucks, of course. I can also, this diagram also illustrates sort of the traditional mill-like massing of the buildings, and in addition to the use of brick. This is a view from the river, from across the river, actually looking at the site. So you have the river trail coming in down here. This is where people see a lot of people fishing these days. Up here we have the rail trail connecting to the rail bridge, and what we're proposing is a ramp connector between the 2, which is actually a pretty extensive ramp at the end of the day. It's about 15-foot difference that it's bridging to provide for that connection. And then in the space in between the trails, in between the ramps, that's where we'd create our open space. Again, it's a nice view of building 3 here. You can see some of the commercial space on that left-hand corner. Oops. This is a diagram that we pulled together to illustrate some of the environmental and physical challenges on the site. Probably the largest challenge that we see has to do with asbestos contaminated soil. And that's likely going to be found in these areas here that we've shaded in the pink, I guess I'll call it. These large areas that are not covered by existing foundations. So they're the pervious areas on the site. All of that soil is likely to have trace amounts or more of asbestos in it, and will need to be handled as a regulated material, either disposed of off-site or addressed suitably on-site. In addition to those pervious areas, we've highlighted in yellow here the 4 excavation areas that are identified. These are all identified in publicly available environmental documents, but we have a number of issues on the site: residual oil contamination, transformer oil release areas, 2 of those, and then we have some elevated concentrations of PAH in area 4. You combine those with the presence of the historic raceways running underneath the site, which need to be addressed. They can't be left in place, as well as what may be a crumbling retaining wall along the river, and you've got a lot of pieces that need to come together to build up to a developable site.
So I think properly addressing the environmental constraints on a site like this isn't for the uninitiated. So, we're really uniquely qualified in the sense of 30 years, 35 Superfund sites. We have an incredibly close working relationship at the state and federal levels, and work really closely with EPA as well as Mass DEP. One of the challenges, I think, the current traditional approach, and we find this in a lot of municipalities dealing with urban renewal plans with environmentally impaired sites, is the traditional approach of the city sourcing public funds to then engage with engineers, consultants, remediation construction firms. That process in terms of funding, sourcing the funding, developing a regulatory strategy, developing an approach to remediation, it typically results in a process that can take 5, 10, 15, and 20 years. And so I think you're going to hear tonight about some really fantastic, credible plans. And the plan we've put in front of you this evening is credible. Those buildings can be built as depicted. They're not just, we like to say paper will take any number and any picture. Those images we're showing are buildable projects. I think the real challenge is how can you activate and make that happen sooner than later? So the current approach that the city is taking is that the city will remediate the site to a residential standard. And to go from where the site is today to being able to achieve a residential standard is going to be at least a 5 to 10 year process. I think that the intent is always that it can happen quicker than that. It can happen in 0 to 3 years. Practically speaking, particularly in a constantly dynamic political environment, becomes really difficult to do that. So the proposal that we've put in front of you really is about taking title to the site in its current condition. We would take it as is. We would then privately fund and source any additional funding that might or might not be needed through different EPA brownfield grant programs. So we would take title and responsibility from day one to implement not just a remediation strategy, but a regulatory strategy. And so what we like to always talk about is certainty of outcome and unlocking the what's possible in a definitive time schedule. So our approach would really leverage private funding combined with our 30 years of experience to deliver a pad-ready site within a 3-year period. And that's a very ambitious but very doable if there's a good collaboration and partnership between redeveloper and the redevelopment authority, which we are confident would exist in this case. So, you know, the traditional approach, it really leads to a cycle where more often than not, we'll walk into a community and it'll be a 10-year or 20 or 30-year effort to kind of foster economic development. And so we've really been able to develop a set of skills and a toolbox that allows that to happen sooner. So you have a lot of the detail within the graphic that has been shared, but just to highlight, you know, really a few of what we think are the differentiators. It's a turnkey solution for the city. It's an early transfer that bundles the acquisition, environmental, and site development risk. It really moves that away from the city and really puts it squarely on us as the private redevelopment partner. It's a greater certainty of outcome for the city. You know, it's going to be the lowest total cost, life cycle cost, and that redevelopment will be able to happen in a much more efficient timeline. You know, finally, it mitigates the biggest risk, which is working with the regulators at both the federal and state level to come up with a remediation strategy that can be executed and lead to vertical construction. You know, and then finally, as a local-based, nationally recognized remediation contractor, we're going to be able to develop the most cost-effective remedial strategy that will support that regulatory closure. So we will be able to deploy the least amount of money to achieve the highest quality of outcome in terms of a remediation of the site. So ultimately, it's certainty of outcome, speed of closure, lowest total cost, streamlined process, and what I think is most important, it allows the city and the redevelopment authority to celebrate a win here in a 3 to 5 year time frame. So thank you. Hopefully I've left enough time and we've left enough time here for questions.
Yeah.
I know it was a lot of information and I went a little fast.
Can you talk a little bit about the access to and from the site from the existing roads? It looks like maybe you're proposing to maybe improve that bridge that crosses the canal. Is that going to be one of the points of entry to the site?
Got it. We weren't contemplating that at this point.
Okay.
We're
So it's going to be coming in,
existing roads.
coming in from the Central Bridge.
You go to right, coming in this direction. You know, potentially it'd be interesting to explore possible connections this way. I know this is privately owned land here on this side, so that's kind of at their, you know, they have control of that, but yeah.
I think as we start to really unpack in terms of the regulatory and the remediation strategy, we look, you know, closely to address some of the site grading challenges and some of the geotechnical challenges within the site. And really wanted to highlight and emphasize the connection points in terms of pedestrian access and open space. But in the process of doing that, we can also look at better vehicle connection points as well. Yes.
So if you're saying like you're the best option for that environmental general contractor, are you essentially holding this site ransom for you to redevelop, or are you up for hire if the other firms get the?
Our sort of business strategy, if you will, is we leverage our remediation and redevelopment core capabilities in an at-risk solution like this, where we're bringing our kind of our own capital to the projects that we're the designated developer on. You know, one of the things that's become really interesting for us is the value proposition that we're delivering is being really well received across the Commonwealth and in New England. And so we have to be really selective and very intentional about the projects that we take on, because ultimately, if we don't deliver as promised, the likelihood of getting the sort of the next project becomes that much more challenging. So, you know, we like one mayor to call another mayor and one redevelopment authority to call the other and really communicate directly with each other. We do have a for-fee remediation business. But I don't think that this would necessarily be the right project fit for that team.
So I guess.
Right. Yeah, this is a project we get excited. We have three core capabilities within our business: the remediation business, a regulated waste management business, and then our brownfield development business. And each part of the business stands on its own 2 feet. But when the magic happens is when we can bring those three together to execute a project like this.
So you're confident that after you go through sort of the dirty work of cleaning up the site, that there's enough left on the bone for you guys to be successful in partnership with the city for this project?
Yes, we think that I think the greatest risk here also creates a tremendous opportunity to create value as well. And the value here is really in creating a pad-ready site that eliminates a lot of the risks for a good vertical development partner to come in, collaborate with the city. So we work really closely with the city to make sure that what's happening, you know, boots on the ground, as well as from an entitlement standpoint, kind of meets what the goals and objectives of the city are. So we create enough value through the execution of this. And at times we'll stay in and roll over into the vertical development, but also we like to bring in, you know, once you eliminate risk on a site like this, that's when you have the opportunity to bring in, you know, I'll say best in class, nationally recognized or locally recognized vertical development partners.
How will you be funding this project? Entirely your investors? Or are you going to be looking for affiliates or tax incentives by the city or the state?
We would be, our current baseline plan contemplates privately funding the initial remediation and redevelopment effort. We would work in tandem with the city and would work, you know, sort of behind the scenes with the city to pursue, you know, we talked about vehicle improvement on access. You know, there may be MassWorks grants that we decide to pursue for both pedestrian access as well as vehicle access. And then if there's brownfield funding mechanisms that we identify that we think would be good opportunities and good sources of additional funding, really to deliver more features and benefits to the site, we would then pursue those. But in the absence of those, our approach is to privately fund it.
Thank you.
One question. So we have a timeline for to construction, perfect world.
Yeah.
3 to 5 years. Are you planning to phase out the vertical from the ground up over a time frame or an expected time frame?
I think ideally a project of this size with that number of units, and again, you know, sitting here today, we'll use an optimistic outlook that the market is strong. The city's done just such a great job. There's a terrific energy here. I think a project like this would come on and be built, at a single point. I think trying to phase this number of units with this building configuration would be difficult to do. So I think we would envision this all coming out of the ground at the same time.
And so the follow-up question would be, do you have time frame more or less of how long that would take?
Typically, once you have the site pad ready like that, and a lot of the infrastructure becomes a part of the remediation, you want to, as much as you can and when you can, integrate those two. Typically, to come out of the ground, it's about, 2 years to maybe 3 years on a site like this.
We're looking at a total of 17.
Yes, that's in our approach. I think in the traditional approach, I wouldn't be saying, I mean this respectfully, and I'll apologize if it's offensive to anyone here. It's just leveraging our experience in doing this. I think the traditional approach is probably a 20-year program. I think it's a 10-year. I think the current approach to get funding and implement a remediation strategy to have a residential pad-ready site that would then be transferred under the traditional approach is going to take longer than what's currently contemplated. And that's just my own individual opinion on it based off of our experience.
Perfect.
All right, thank you for that. Thank you.
Okay, next up, roads consulting group.
No, this.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, next week. What's up, next week? We also have another round of that.
It would just be.
But then we got others.
Correct. Correct.
You received an email.
We did. Yes. Got it.
I think Janice is probably on there and
Hello.
walk it through it. Yeah, I think you can click through it. Yeah, he's gonna be talking about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, let me know when to go and if I'm gonna be sharing the screen, and I'll take care of the rest.
When you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. Just let me know if I'm gonna be sharing or if you guys are.
I can share.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Well, good evening all. Uh, can everybody hear me first of all?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. I'm Dr. Jose Perez with Roach Consulting Group. Few of my colleagues are in the room. I apologize for not being present today. Last minute changes left me unable to attend, so my apologies, but I'll do as best as possible to present our project through here. And I know my colleagues in front of you are sharing some images as well of our project, and they will be able to also answer questions that I may not. We together are the Business Factory, and who we are, we a consortium of folks that represent the community itself from different angles. Kervin, who is Lawrence member, as well as born and raised in Lawrence, he's a community member, but also a partner to the program. We have Eric, who has strong ties to Lawrence with his family as well. We have one individual, Ray, who's not present tonight, as well as myself, who I am a Latino member, believing in this community strongly and want to put together a program that is going to be in the use for the better of the community by presenting what we call today the Business Factory. Next. There we go. A little bit, basically what we want to do here is we want to be able to put a 4-layer approach, and we want to put together a 50,000 square foot building in 7 and 9 Canal Street that would allow the emphasis of creating entrepreneurship as a tool to essentially create economic development for the city as well as for surrounding towns, with 4 different pillars. 1, having an incubator space for retailers. 2, having a shared kitchen space for folks that believe deeply in their products and the stuff that they're cooking at home, but now looking for ways to actually get out and actually create a sort of different firm. 3, a co-working space for individuals that are doing more behind services with computers and whatnot, or just want to really get their business out of their house and start growing. And 4, a little bit more in the warehouse space, as well as labs that they will be able to actually pitch their idea from beginning to essentially funding and get a ride out. The picture will show you a little bit of what we're intending to do here, where we're considering a 3-pillared approach for this lot. And then on the 9, we're considering parking spaces for these different things, as well as the on-green spaces that we have right outside, rooftop space and whatnot, we'll be able to utilize. We are deeply believing in this project, knowing that the community needs something where folks will be able to call their own, but only that, also in addition, for individuals that will be able to actually identify themselves with the project and be able to actually create something that is unique. We know that employment might not be something that some folks are looking for, but we do want to make sure we provide a space that will be inclusive to many and would allow people to actually get ahead. Next slide. This was a little bit of video that we prepared for you guys. Sorry, go back. And if you could please press play, this will be a video that you'll be able to kind of see our vision and kind of go from there. Not sure if sound is up, but you'll be able to see the terrace space, the parking space that we have as well as the inside of the particular facilities that we are intended to actually put forward. which is shared kitchen space, which strongly represents many of the businesses that are coming up within the town and adjacent communities as well. Promise we had great and unbelievable music in the background of this. You guys will be really pleased. But right now, the don't sound would do. Next slide, please.
Yeah, I don't know if you were talking to that, but we couldn't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
No
Great.
worries.
What I basically said that we had really great music. I'm sorry that you guys didn't. It's amazing. We are forecasting a $20 million initial investment with this particular project, where which $4 million is going to come from us as individual investors. So once again, believing in the community is also investing in the community, and within the 4 investors that we have, we are forward putting our own money as well in the city, coming up with $4 million of independent money. We are looking for strategic partners that are going to come in. Some of them governmental and grants, considering that we are doing space that focuses on workforce development and economic development. So therefore, we are looking for particular partnerships there, which we already have some interest, and we believe that we're going to be successful in finding these based on the work that we do. Next slide. Next slide. We are forecasting that it's going to be anywhere between 22 to 26 months total from a timeline from initial essentially to execution and grand opening. Could go as far as 30 months in the event that we're facing some delay, but we are foreseeing that we're going to be able to get this done close to 2.5 years or so into the entire project. Why this, right? First, we strongly believe that the community needs to self-identify with something that they see as their own. We believe that these places are not in areas as Lawrence, and we want to make sure that we bring into them. We also think that entrepreneurship is here to stay, and we're seeing that more and more. With over 99 million businesses across the United States, we are seeing that most people are deciding to essentially create a business versus essentially going and looking for a job, being able to create their own particular paycheck. But we also want to make sure that they don't fail. With that being said, we want to make sure that we create an incubator for successful business owners that are going to allow them to, in essence, create jobs, grow their particular network, grow their network as well, and be able to create an infrastructure for their families and folks surrounding them that is going to be different than what a job could provide. We do see the partnerships with also particular employers. We will be able to do economic development through different partners and things that they will be able to do there. But we do have a strong emphasis on entrepreneurship first of all than anything else. Next. Our experience, I myself been in technical assistance for the last 7 years, providing support for small business owners. This kind of demonstrates the folks that we've been doing work with and why they will believe in this sort of project. We are leading in the state with over 11 particular contracts across different states. And we're able to actually have 3 separate satellites. In addition to this, We have different agreements in the federal side, and we also have a strong partnership with a nonprofit that does workforce development in different areas such as cybersecurity, such as construction management and whatnot. Next. And then lastly, what I was saying, one of the items that I forgot to mention and why us and the benefit piece of it, we are looking to do this building as clean as possible. In addition to this, we are looking to do this building from individuals that live in the community, that work in the community, in order to provide opportunity for folks that have their own companies and be able to create this in something that truly represents the community of Lawrence. So thank you all, and we'll answer any questions that you may have.
You stated you can build this project in 26 months, but we heard from a few of the other folks that the remediation is gonna take some time. And that's depending on them being able to invest their own money to do it quicker, because they rely on state and federal funds to do the remediation. That's gonna be a difficult task.
Yeah, that's why I asked if they were holding the sites hostage. They'll only develop it if, they'll only clean it if they get to develop it. So that's why that's like a specific question, but feel confident with the right contractor or local contractor and the right, and with our engineers working together to remediate this as quickly as possible. That's part of it. Besides the construction method that we're using, that's the longest time period, but confident with the right local contractor, we can get something like that completed. And with funding, that's Jose's part.
Parking spaces we didn't do.
Well, there's one scheme, the parking completely underneath the building, but depending on how the remediation going, where the old paper mill, something like that. But this isn't residential, it's a retail, trucks come in and out. So it's a different kind of setup than having a bunch of parking for, one building like this, and then a bunch of parking paid for people who, yeah. So that's the option underneath, or then option where the paper mill was.
Office size, is there any idea?
We can think of it more of a co-working space, and then with what do we have? How many square feet? Yeah, open floor format. We have a 5th floor, this entire wing here, and then this L shape. That's all office, dedicated office, open shared space with a mix of open floor plan like this and cubicles and dedicated office space like a WeWork but our own brand. Those.
Any more questions?
Anything I forgot, Jose?
No, thank you all. Thanks for taking the time, and if any other questions you may have, let us know. If not, we look forward to your decision in the near future.
Thank you. Yeah, very good.
Okay, next up, Renaissance on the River, Glory Construction.
Yeah.
You already knew I was gonna say correct.
Oh, test, test.
Yeah.
Set to go. Welcome and good evening. My name is David Delory, owner and CEO of Delory Industries. I am one of the three principals of this project. Our agenda for you this evening is for the South Canal One Merrimack paper site. That's our primary development. And as a secondary offering, South Canal Phase 2. First and foremost, thank you to the LRA, the Citizens Advisory Committee, and the citizens of Lawrence. You have all done great hard work at creating this opportunity for your city and creating a vision for your city in this region. As stated in your website, empowering Lawrence through visionary development, sustainable growth, and revitalization, shaping a brighter future for all.
Slides are in there. Okay. Okay, that works.
We propose to you Renaissance on the River. Why Renaissance on the River? We have the experience and expertise locally and regionally to take a project from vision to design through development and construction. Our team has completed projects for decades in every building sector. We have environmental expertise, and tonight we have project team member from Veritex Environmental, Frank Calandra, and he'll be able to answer questions with the environmental piece. We have alignment with your vision, your goals, and your plan of an equitable, compact, transit-oriented project. Our project is financially feasible. We have commitments with Bank of New England, Rockland Trust, and Mass Housing. What is unique about our project? It's a true public-private project. We are including private property, 29 and 39 South Canal, into this development. This property directly abuts the Merrimack paper site. This will create an economy of scale development, maximizing the economic benefits and allowing us to create many amenities for the city of Lawrence. This will allow us to create a regional destination point. This economy of scale will follow through the development over to the South Canal Phase 2 piece. Sharing our project with you this evening is team members Diana Marsh, Principal Greg Minot, and team member Greg Mateo. Local experience. Speaking of local experience, Greg Mateo is a 20-year resident of Lawrence, and he's an associate director of project and development, ensuring that Lawrence's interests are going to be first and foremost. Lawrence first is what we want this to be. Being a local and regional business owner of a third-generation business, we've been doing business in Lawrence for over 60 years. We will engage the citizens and businesses of Lawrence to help build this project. Diane.
Thank you, Dave. I'm going to talk about our vision. We've thought long and hard about how to build upon the assets of this particular site. And our project is based on three goals: connecting the site back into the wider neighborhood, creating transit-oriented development to bring new activity to revitalize this area, and honoring the industrial heritage of Lawrence. As Dave has said, we're the only team that brings full control of the whole block of the Merrimack Paper Mill site. In addition to our bid for the city-owned properties, one of our project partners controls 29 and 39 South Canal here, including the existing mill buildings at 29 South Canal.
For our project, we're really excited to take advantage of this location between two waterfronts. And want to complement the city, complement the city's planned conversion of the rail bridge into a bike route by creating a gateway here at the western end of our site. And we are also planning to create a publicly accessible open space in the middle of the block to help bring people from the canal down to the river and link to the city's plan for a walking trail on both sides of the Merrimack River. And so on the western, on this main Merrimack paper block, we will be preserving the existing mill buildings to create festival space and retail shops and a large public terrace on the west side. The new construction buildings that you see there, three different buildings, will provide a total of around 600 apartments over structured
I just
parking.
have to interrupt really quickly. If you have a silver RAV4 license plate 782, they're going to tow it. It's parked out front. No?
RAV4, please look at two.
Sorry.
Yeah. So the new construction buildings will provide 600 apartments over structured parking. And by putting the apartments on top of structured parking, we're taking advantage of the grade change on the site from the canal down to the river to hide the parking from view of South Canal Street. And also it helps raise the living space above the known AULs on the site. And on 55 South Canal, we are proposing a building with around 65 units on top of community serving uses, including business incubators and workforce job training spaces. The renderings that you can also see here, this is a view from the canal along the canal looking west. We will be enhancing the canal frontage with a new street that has sidewalks and street trees on both sides to make it a more pleasant place to walk to the train and to walk through Lawrence. The old mill building that you can see there in the reddish orange will have ground floor retail and event spaces that bring activity to the street here. And the new residential buildings will have residential lobbies and amenity spaces on the street also to help bring activity to this street. This is a view looking from the canal down to the riverfront at the open space terrace in the middle of the block. We'll be opening up the side of those existing mill buildings and putting retail and restaurants in the ground floor there that will spill out onto the terrace and create activity there and really make an inviting public terrace with outdoor seating, landscaping, and lighting so that it's a place you can come together in daytime and evening. And it will be adaptable to be used as a flexible space for special events. And lastly, we know the riverfront is a very popular place for fishing and picnicking and walking. And we're going to be restoring the habitat along the river and enhancing that with a new multi-use trail at the backs of the buildings with landscaping and soft lighting. And the new buildings here, the new construction you can see in the background will be lined with townhouses on the lower levels so that they screen the view of the parking garage. You're not looking at parking down here either. And the stoops and porches on those townhouses and the restaurants in this mill building here will help bring activity to the waterfront pathway here, keeping it active and safe and really creating the feeling of a neighborhood. And now I'll pass it to Greg to talk about the community benefits.
Thank you, Diana, and gracias a todos por estar aquí. Tonight, I'm not just part of the team, as they mentioned at the beginning, but I'm a proud resident of Lawrence for 20 years. Since then, I've seen Lawrence struggles, but I also see Lawrence growth and definitely its spirits. I really know this side very well. I was one of those Lawrence High School kids that used to go from South Lawrence to the Old Lawrence High School. And I used to take either the South Broadway Bridge or the Middle Bridge. So this side is really important. But beyond those memories and moments, what I learned from this city, it gave me a sense of community and belonging. So this project is more than just the pretty pictures and buildings. I know this project is Lawrence. So the city already has a development program, which is the Equitable Compact Transit-Oriented Development. And there's 5 specific goals, and we want to be part of those goals to achieve. The first goal is generate new solutions. We want to bring a robust community participation to shape the development throughout the whole process. The next 2 goals is maximize potential, increase tax revenue. This project will allow to bring skilled workforce to boost the local economy, especially residents of Lawrence. That's gonna allow 2,000 plus construction and trade jobs. Really important, the permanent jobs, over 200 permanent jobs, and $1 million in tax revenue every year. The next goal is mitigate displacement. So we're gonna create affordable and workforce housing. Also, thinking about the residents of Lawrence, I know there's a big shortage in, so we want to help achieve that. And the most important one, we want to lift the quality of life. So this project is gonna bring access and bring people in, and also to make Lawrence to be a significant place. Right?
Thank you, Greg. All right, so good evening again. So I just want to talk tonight a little bit about the environmental. So as we heard earlier, we have our longtime partner, Vertex Environmental, which is one of the top environmental firms in the country. And Frank Calandra from Vertex is with us, and we're working together right now to clean up two of the dirtiest sites in Boston. One, which is a 22-acre redevelopment, very similar to what we'll execute here. The team at Vertex also has a local office, Boston office, that has done a kind of cleanup in Lawrence and knows the regulators on what the city of Lawrence wants in terms of a cleanup. They've done the former Coventa plant, the Duck Mills, and the former Washington Mills projects. So we've looked at the initial environmental information, and we have a viable plan to move this project forward in an expedited way in terms of cleanup. So working with the Mass DEP as well as the EPA, which we have a lot of experience with. As folks have said earlier, the primary contaminants of this site is asbestos. So we have a contain and cap strategy that is supported by our design, and that's exactly why we have this parking garage, which not only is hidden from view, and the residential stuff, it's a good urban design move, but it also has environmental benefits as well. And we've already identified the funds that we need from the EPA necessary for site assessment and cleanup. So why our team? Well, we are the only team that incorporates over 11 acres of land that combine both private parcels under our control as well as the public parcels, right? So this allows us to double the impact for the city of Lawrence relative to other proposals. And this approach will allow us to create the kind of amenities, housing, jobs, and overall community benefits that Lawrence deserves. Our vision for that reason is very unique, right? And our team has specialized, and this is a key point and differentiator, in the full breadth of development. So not only in terms of the cleanup and the design and construction, but also the execution of the vertical. We're developers, right? So we've specialized in these kind of public-private partnerships, working with cities like Lawrence for decades, with agencies such as Mass Housing, Mass Development, Mass Works to deliver affordable and workforce housing throughout the Commonwealth. So we've been doing this for decades, and this is exactly what we want to do for the city of Lawrence. We're ready to go with a very credible financial plan. We've already secured, as Dave mentioned, in terms of funding from banks. We also have committed internal sources, and we've identified the public sources that we need, and that's demonstrated in the pro forma plans that we have submitted. And strong relationships with the EPA and Mass Development, as I mentioned, and we're delivering this within a 5-year time frame. The environmental will take some time, but we will be designing and planning and permitting in parallel. Some of that will be dependent on the environmental, but our goal is to deliver the full comprehensive vision in 5 years. And so with that, I open it up for questions.
I believe you guys talked about workforce housing. What does that mean in terms of price?
Yes, that's a good question. So the price point is relative to anything that you'll see comparable within the neighborhood. We're not pricing people out of the neighborhood. We have units at 80% AMI, right? And also below. So we have also deeply for low income renters, so 30%. Most of the units are between 50 and 80%. And then we have workforce housing, which is at an affordable rent. It is within the free market, but it is relative to everything that's around it. So we're not pricing people out of the neighborhood. But we have units at different income levels for everyone.
You stated you're building the whole block, meaning you've spoken to the neighbors that you already have for that planned out with the owners of the lots next to.
Correct, we do, and Dave can expand on
Yes.
that as well.
Yes, have arrangements with Project Byron.
The remediation, what do you anticipate the remediation time will be, the time frames for the site?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, we would definitely go for EPA funding, so we'd have to submit the applications, we submit our plans to DEP. On a project like this, we would get in front of EPA and DEP up front and come up with our plans. And, as long as we're up front, we tell them the plans, they're usually a lot faster in approving those plans, in my experience.
What if you don't get the funding between the site? Things are tough right now with the states and federal government, current situation.
I'm working on a project right now in Boston, and there is some money available for remediation, so it's really a matter of timing, because there are a lot of questions in current administration.
Quick question. You're doubling the footprint and decreasing the potential build-out time to within a 5-year time frame based on what was presented. Is that realistic? And are there any contingencies built in where if that time frame would need to be extended? Do you have contingencies that may allow for that within that 5-year time frame?
I would say, yes, I mean, we're trying to be conservative by going for that. But as we get into the environmental piece, that will be a driving force. So,
Okay.
yes.
So that gap, it may increase, decrease.
It could increase based off of, our goal is to go as fast as possible. There's no hold up for the team to move forward. So we will go as fast as regulators and approvals and permitting will allow us.
Do you have a goal when you go to these communities of how much local workforce you want to try to use? Or can you tell us about a project you did and,
Well,
participated in?
I already have people in my company that work in Lawrence, live in Lawrence. So we will hire from Lawrence as we need more workforce. And a lot of it too is based off of talent. There's gonna be certain things that are gonna be talent based of a specific contractor. We'll go to contractors, we'll go to subcontractors and vendors and use as much from Lawrence as we can. But we have to be realistic to have the proper talent to execute the job.
And just to add to that, he has a minority business enterprise as well. We really pride ourselves on our diversity efforts. And we go, as with Dave, we go out of our way to ensure that that's one of the pillars and goals of the project. It is communicated not only internally, but to all of our contractors, subcontractors. We have demonstrated this. We've done a lot of work in different cities. I'll give you an example in the city of Boston, which has really aggressive, they call it Boston Residents and Job Policy Goals. And we've hit as high as 65% in terms of MBE spend. That's actual dollars, not just worker hours, but actual dollars that get into the pockets of minority business enterprise. Being a minority business enterprise, it's our mission, it's our DNA, and we're certainly committed, as with everyone on our team, to ensure that Lawrence residents gets the most benefits from this project.
Thank you.
My final question.
In terms of size of the units, are you, any considerations as to what you're looking at for square footage of each units?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we have a range of units for different family sizes and needs. So anywhere from studios to 3 bedrooms, you know, in terms of family size units. And these are gonna be, you know, generous units. You know, you're talking about 1 bedrooms, you know, in terms of 800 square feet, 2 bedrooms, 1,000, 3 bedrooms, and so on. And these are gonna be, as you can see from the renderings, you know, very modern buildings, modern elevator buildings, huge windows, so there's lots of daylight, very livable units. We'll have townhouses as well along the river walk. So those will be larger units. So there's a diversity of units throughout the project.
Mr. Karas would like to speak. Go ahead.
Thank you for recognizing me. Good evening. My name is James Karras. I'm a consultant to the Lawrence Redevelopment Authority. You had mentioned that some of your affordable units will be targeted to, I believe you said 30 to 60% of area median income. And when I hear that target, I'm reminded that typically to reach that sector, most developers use low-income housing tax credits. Is it your plan to apply for tax credits? And if so, obviously they're extremely competitive. What will you do if in fact you can't get the tax credits?
Certainly, great question. Only about 60 units or so of the 600 are going to be dependent on tax credits. So most of it, we will be doing it through, again, private funding, bank funding for the majority of essentially the 600 units. So only a small portion is going to be based on tax credits.
So you will apply for tax credits. Are there other public incentives for your workforce and your higher affordable units that you plan to apply for?
Yes, we plan to apply for workforce housing dollars through mass housing. There's also different programs such as the Build Fund that we will also utilize. But and these programs will evolve as this project evolves through the years. But we have a lot of great experience and a lot of great relationships with Crystal Cornegay and others at Mass Housing that we've successfully used to execute our other affordable housing and workforce housing projects in the state.
Thank you for your response.
Absolutely.
That's time.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Folks, we have some pizza. I know it's been a long evening. We would like to, there's a variation in flavors. I am not a vegan, so I have the meat. But there's some others. Welcome.
Sure, there's a lot of pizza there. Everyone.
Okay, and last but not least, we have the Sire Group. And I'll just mention to everybody that there is one developer for this particular site who wasn't able to make it tonight. We invited that developer to present on during the next meeting, which is going to be next Tuesday. That'll be at the beginning of that meeting. If you want to come in and watch that other presentation, of course, you're welcome. It's also going to be available on Zoom. And certainly we can share the link to that with you if you want to watch that. So there will be one more presentation after Sire, and that'll be next Tuesday.
We received that email a few days ago, so
Yeah,
and we were notified timely manner.
Okay.
I saw the bottles of water where I
You want water? It's in the refrigerator. Oh.
This is the biggest development that I've seen. It's true. This is.
No, but, no.
8 stories. What are your farming? Margins.
You're gonna.
She's gonna do it first.
Oh, really? How does she know?
Not with the pointer, so.
Oh, you're gonna point it?
The slides.
Thank you very much.
Hey, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Slides.
Do you have another sign for our?
I do.
You're using it, you can use it if it's canceled.
If you don't mind. Flip the page as you do the slides. I think it's, I forgot to. I think we got to put the slide numbers on there, so my script stays appears on slide numbers.
Okay,
I get to get lost, I don't know what slide number.
okay, wait, hold on.
Okay. As you change the slide,
Yeah, how many slides are there?
about 30.
38.
Yeah, but we're gonna skip through them very fast.
All right, so just kind of look at me and I'll just,
Excuse me. Oh, great.
you know,
In
like,
case I get loud, okay.
I stare at her and then I'm gonna just keep looking at her and
no,
say, you
just
should
kind
be
of
looking
like
at
this,
that.
or him, he can do it.
I beg your pardon.
Okay. So get together.
See,
Okay. I'm gonna try to rock with you.
I'm we have the guy who created the presentation is supposed to be here. Unfortunately, couldn't come.
There you go.
But we are all set. We are happy. We're excited.
Just,
I can't wait.
just let us know when we can start.
It's a lovely presentation.
We started 100. Sweden. She did. Grab a pizza.
No way.
Yeah. Oh, I need water.
Not yet, hold on. Everybody.
We're just waiting. Awesome. Right. I think someone's missing, right? Oh, good.
Go ahead. You got all 5 board members.
Oh, okay, great. Good evening, board. I remember when I first started, you probably remember I had black hair. And you see where my hair is now? I'm stressed. So I'd like to introduce our company. I am the CEO of Sire Group. We're a real estate development company. I also wear another hat. I represent Sperry Capital. We're a national capital markets company. And I wear another hat is that I'm a professor at the University of Texas. I teach real estate development. I taught real estate development at NYU, Baruch College, and University of Texas. So I've been doing that for 10 years. I also been a developer for 41 years. 41 years as a real estate developer and a construction lender for Citibank. Our company represents Nokia, Tesla, and Johnson & Johnson. We are a national company and these are our clients. And that's why we know what we need to do to bring the jobs to your town. So while we were doing this, our company, I guess, I'm gonna, okay. Our company, here's our team. We have 3,200 employees. So we're not a small company, we're a big company. We can bring these resources to the town of Lawrence and we can bring our clients to the town of Lawrence. We want to be very flexible in the design. We're so used to it because we work with other cities. We work with New York City, we work with the town of Fort Worth, and we realized we couldn't just give you a project. We had to work with the town because there were a lot of nuances that we didn't know. Because of those nuances, because we're a national company, we decided to partner with a local company, a local developer in this town. We've been in discussions and we thought that was the best way to represent Lawrence is bring a partnership with a local developer. He has built in this town. A lot of people know who he is. Cannot tell you who he is, but I love him. Me and him hit it off right away. We've been discussing this for several months. So didn't come out of the blue. We thought what way to get back to Lawrence was to bring the town of Lawrence to us and that we could not present a development, but you present a development to us that you want to see. And that's what we took a different approach. That's not what we did in the beginning. That's when I had black hair. That's when I decided I'm going to stress out. And now you see my lovely silver hair. It does look blonde, but it's silver. And I would like to discuss, I'm sorry, we can go back. Next one, yes. I have 6 topics of the development that we'd like to share with you. And I would like to bring on one of my team members, Ray Santana, local Lawrence. And he is also my partner at University of Texas. And he is also a PhD in real estate development.
Thank you, Sam. I appreciate that. Slide to work in mind. Thank you. So the next few slides will showcase our vast experience and capabilities. We've done work all across the country and several other countries that's very similar to what we're proposing here in Lawrence. For nearly 50 years, we have specialized in urban mixed use, neighborhood realization, and the transit-oriented developments. This is especially interesting because we're highlighting here a project where it's a bricked mixed use housing project that is along the river, 2 blocks from the train station in a blighted neighborhood in Denver. It was the first development in this area that spurred the growth of this whole section of riverfront. This is a map of the Los Angeles Metro Rail system highlighting the 62 transit-oriented developments that we have done. The second thing we'd like to talk about is our vision, how it aligns with your goals for the future of Lawrence. We have chosen 3 sites situated along the Mag River that we think that are key to success to revitalization of this area. These outstanding sites were chosen not only because they were along the riverfront, but because they're along some of the major transportation routes through the city and aligns with the Lawrence Urban Renewal Plan. Here we have also overlaid some of the ECTOD goals for Lawrence. showing how they relate to our 3 project sites. Key elements include the yellow MIVA shuttle route, the dash green proposed Riverwalk Trail, and how our sites relate to the recreation and parks around the area. These are all important linkages that are key to the realization of the urban renewal area. Next slide. Now, the third thing that we want to talk about is the project vision that Sam will highlight.
So, I didn't actually tell you this, but me and Ray are doctorates in 3D printing. We know how to build using 3D printing construction. That is our expertise. We're the only professors right now in the United States that has this expertise. So with that expertise, what does that mean? We know what it takes to bring technology jobs to the city of Lawrence. We could talk about it. We can say, we'll build this, but they won't come. The reason why they won't come is because your electricity cost is too high. You right now have an abandoned canal that we could put water turbines, and we have IP on electricity technology. That's called IREP Power. We own IREP Power. We can bring that technology to the city of Lawrence. The reason why we're saying that is that our project vision is to help you bring the jobs here. That means you're going to build your tax base. The apartments we're building, we're not doing 600 apartments. We're doing 240 apartments. Why did we decide to do that with workforce housing? Because of our expertise with HUD. We are partnering up with Greystone. Greystone is the #1 HUD lender in the United States, #1. We've had a 20-year relationship with HUD. So we already have our financing lined up for the project. We agree it's a 5-year project. We believe it's going to be 2 to 3 years for the cleanup. Mostly people are going to be using government financing. We can use government financing. There are also environmental funds that we know, because we own Sperry Capital, we have the ability to get that financing because we're in the business of raising capital for real estate developers.
Aside from that, we're affiliated with Sperry Commercial, which I'm a Sperry commercial broker myself. We own over 6 million of retail lease space. We have offices across the United States, so we're very, very confident that we can bring great brands here to Lawrence if needed. Again, all based on collaboration with the LRA and the community in terms of what they're looking for to be here in Lawrence. It can be biotech firms, it can be other industries involved. We're very confident we can bring the right folks to those retail spaces.
I'm next, huh? Where am I now? I'm back.
Slide 24.
So, here we go. Yep. Okay. So we thought about the space. We thought about the design. The average square foot we're doing is over 750 square feet. Why did we do that? Because the industry has changed. Because of remote working. A lot of remote workers want to have a den. So we're making more 1-bedrooms with dens, small 2-bedrooms, because that's the target audience we're going for. They want those extra spaces to have their meetings on remote access. That wasn't the case years ago. Because of COVID, things have changed. And we were cognizant of that target audience. And that's the target audience we're going for. We're going for the workforce housing. Why workforce housing? That's the biggest shortage in the United States, workforce housing. It is not low-income housing, it's actually workforce housing. We have 6 million units that we have a shortage in the United States. Most of it's in California, 3.6 million. If you look at those numbers, we are going to be able to fill these apartments up. As the same group went up, we are going to approach the 80% AMI. But we're also going to fill our project with retail space and community facility space. What is community facility space? That's why we'd like to talk to LRA, sorry about that. Because that community facility space could be a gym, that could be medical office space. Community facility space could be community space for the town. So that we are looking at that, and we're looking at where there were shortages within the town.
Great. Now we highlight the sustainable design. That one, sorry, right there. This design is both passive and active ideas that we worked into the design using things like green roof, photovoltaics, and electrified mechanical systems that will cut down on the use of fossil fuels and contribute to a sustainable future for the city of Lawrence. Green, 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 go baby green, right? So 34. Yeah, good. Highlight.
Okay. Oh, man. Okay. So our timeline is similar to what everybody else was presenting. We think it's 5 years. We think the timeline is 5 years, depending on the way we build the buildings. So if we do traditional construction, normally it is 24 to 36 months. You'll be shocked what 3D printing does. 3D printing, we can build that in 14 months. It is 9 times faster than traditional construction. Are we there yet? No. We might be there in the next 24 months, and that's how long we think the environmental cleanup will be. 24 months to 30 months, we think that's the environmental cleanup. We can bring our technology. Basically, I would bring my printers here, and we would print these buildings. Why is that significant? Because the tech world is going to be watching and saying, wow, they brought technology to build these buildings. That means these guys really want the biotech companies, the technology companies to come to the city of Lawrence. Why do we think it's a great location? You are 30 minutes away from Boston. 30 minutes away from Boston. You're going to attract Boston money. And that's what we think as an overall vision for Lawrence. We think we're the right developers to bring that because we have so much resources to bring.
And lastly, we want to touch on some of the community benefits of our proposed projects. You can see here that there is many key goals centering around 4 areas that we'll use as metrics. They are the economic development, physical stability, job creation, improve quality of life, and of course, the implementation of the urban renewal plan. And some of the highlights of our proposal, once again, we're open and happy to flexible to have an open negotiation with the LRA. Just to kind of do any sort of necessary changes as needed that fits the needs of the community and the LRA. We want to thank you guys for your attention tonight, this evening, and we are going to open up for questions.
The medium for the 3D printer.
Sorry?
What's the medium of the 3D printing machine?
What do you mean?
The medium, like the concrete, is it?
It's concrete. If you want to know, it's already been used in Texas and Georgetown. They built 100 houses in Georgetown. They announced the project in November. It was completely finished in August. Okay, that was 2,000 square feet. Roughly 2,000 square feet takes us 7 days to build. That's how fast these printers are. And here's a great part. You can get insurance. So we know that that's a big problem. The LA fire just caused a huge problem getting insurance. So if it's wood frame, you're going to see some high premium for wood frame houses. And that's why we see this technology is going to eliminate that problem. Here's another problem most people don't know. This year and next year, we're going to have a labor shortage of 650,000 skilled labor in the construction industry. Most of the construction companies are going to be poaching from other construction companies. This is a huge problem. A lot of people don't know this. They're going to say, we can build it, we can build it. And I'm saying, how? We have a shortage of labor. That's throughout the whole United States. So if you don't believe me, try to get a plumber, try to get an electrician. You're going to be on a waiting. And that's what we see another problem. And we think the 3D printing is going to be a solution to the problem. And we would love to bring that over. We're not going to do it immediately. We'll probably stick to our traditional construction, but we would love to build some projects here in the town of Lawrence because we believe that it'll attract technology because technology guys love technology. So that's the reason why they're moving to certain cities because they really believe you want to invest in technology.
So this is not meant to be 3D printed.
It could, and we could, right now the max is 4-story with 3D printing. But we're one of the few companies that can do it. Okay, because me and him are the professors in this technology. So that's what we bring also the city of Lawrence. We bring us. And when we bring us, we can help build.
What about the massive thermal bridging with the concrete and, you know, with
Well, those are great questions. We're having to follow up after the meeting, but I'd like to have the LRA have time to ask a question about the
The turbine technology, how does that fit into the project? Is that in conjunction with the remediation and everything else, or?
No, that's what we're talking about, the flexibility. We want to work with the LRA because we're gonna build this commercial. How are we gonna fill them with the technology companies? So we're gonna say, I think we should do the abandoned canal. Right now, it's the easiest and to build. So you don't know what it is, New York City, the East River put in this technology, and it is an underwater turbine. So what we were thinking was, how do we provide a cheap electricity to the city so we can attract these technology companies? And that was one way, is to put these underwater turbines in the abandoned canal and generate the electricity to get the technology companies. We don't own those properties over there. So we spoke to the developers in the area, local developers. They loved my idea because they said, my property is worth X. If you bring this here, my property is gonna be Y. And that's gonna bring the tax rolls high to the city of Lawrence. That's income for the city of Lawrence.
I had a question for you. The tax revenue that will be generated, based on your estimate.
I can't answer that question because some of the apartments will be generating revenues. It's the jobs that I can't really tell you how much you're gonna be bringing in tax revenues. Because if you're doing 240 apartments, you're bringing in 240 families, right? Average family size, maybe 4. So how many jobs are you bringing in? We don't know, but if you're bringing in those jobs, you're bringing in income revenue. You're also bringing spending revenue, going to the spending area. So how do you fill the retail space? Got to answer the question. How are we bringing that? Well, we own Sperry. We own Sperry Commercial. We have 80 offices around the United States. You will see our signs all over the place. We actually have a Boston office. And we can bring the tenants in because we own 6 million square feet of retail space around the United States. So we have already the relationship with the big box, small box, mom and pop tenants that we can bring in there. So a lot of the guys are gonna present, but how are they gonna implement? How are they gonna provide the tenants? They're gonna go hire a local broker. Maybe they're not gonna bring that tenant in. We can, because we're in the business. We've been doing it for the past 40 years.
I saw that you guys had been rendering homes. Is that aspirational or is that?
No, so what happens in, for example, in New York City, in areas where there are no supermarkets, we call it the fresh start. So when you bring a supermarket into the area of a low income area, the city gives you back square footage. So if I put 20,000 square foot in a supermarket, they give me 20,000 square feet of residential space. So we don't know what you want, because if you're telling me, you know what, we are lacking a supermarket, can you go out to your supermarket chains, the Albertsons, the Krogers, or the smaller guys to come in here, like a Trader Joe's or such, can you bring them in there? We're gonna start building for Trader Joe if we brought them in, right? But you have to tell us, this is where we're lacking on the retail. Do you have that client? Well, most likely I do have that client because we own the retail brokerage side.
And that's why we're open to collaborate and be flexible with you guys. Whatever you want, we can make it happen.
Any more questions?
Sensitive as well.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for helping and everything else. I think it was amazing.
Our third person.
One developer.
I thought you had.
I
I did have black hair when I.
I know, I remember.
Okay, I guess we're on to, item 4. Discussion and selection of the project manager.
Yeah, I think Mr. Garrett is still online. Can we bring him in because we assigned him to homework. James?
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. Give us 1 minute, James, so we can have a no problem.
Oh, sorry. Man.
James, can you stay on after item 4?
Yes.
Please. Okay, go ahead, James.
Well, good evening again. And we had discussed the process to select a project manager, a firm that would assist the LRA in terms of once a developer has been selected, is to help put together an agreement, a development agreement, and then throughout the pre-development and development phase is to represent the LRA and making sure that everything that is in the development agreement is actually being met. There was an RFP that was issued last summer of 2024. There were 3 proposals that were received. One from RAG Associates, RAG, Colliers International, and Collaborative RED, RED. I have submitted a report to you earlier, and it provides detail in terms of each one of the proposals. And we focused on their experience and qualifications, their project approach, how they would handle construction oversight, how they would work on with the community and stakeholder engagement and public communication. We'd also wanted to understand their references, and finally their costs proposal and what they would be charging the LRA for their services. So relative to all 3, in summation, all 3 proposals I believe would be more than adequate. They all have extensive experience, particularly in redevelopment projects in gateway cities or gateway type cities. I interviewed all 3 of them as well as reviewing their proposals. My recommendations in terms of it depends on what is a priority to you. If you're looking for someone that has a lot of local knowledge and hands-on experience, very detailed, particularly within the Lawrence region, RAG Associates was probably the #1 ranked firm in terms of local experience, local knowledge, and hands-on presence, and being available on a very short notice, if you will. So those the project that was or firm that did a lot of major scale redevelopment, large projects, $50 million and up type of projects, and has an extensive track record is Colliers International. So they have probably the most extensive roster of professionals of the three firms. And by far, they have a number of different specialists within the firm itself. And then finally, a firm, Collaborative RED. It is a Massachusetts-based firm. They prioritize on public-private partnerships, focus on cost efficiency, and they're best suited for projects requiring innovative financing structures and public-private partnerships. So Collaborative RED, I think, has its strength as well. Ultimately, I think the two areas that I thought that were most important to take consideration of, given that all three could easily do the job, is one, which one is the most nimble and, if you will, available to LRA and could be responsive, and also from a cost perspective. And I think RAG Associates in the first category, being Lawrence-based or Lawrence regionally based, and has done work with the city of Lawrence in the past, and has received excellent reviews based on their work. And so I think from that basis, RAG Associates excellent. Now and I'll close with this, is the cost issue. RAG Associates talked about a fixed annual fee of $131,000 a year. That would be a fixed fee year to year. It would include all services, and would not change year to year. Colliers submitted not a fixed price proposal, but submitted a scale of hourly rates of a host of different professionals, ranging from a low of, I believe it was the mid 100s, 150, 175, to as high as $360 an hour. They were most likely the most expensive. And then Collaborative RED came in with a fixed price for the first year of $40,000, and said that would include everything at that price. The concern with, I think what's attractive with RAG is that you know what you're going to be paying on a yearly basis. Every year it will be the same. With Collier, the more you need them, the more expensive it's going to be. And it could be quite expensive given their hourly rates. Not to say they can't justify it, but they're very, very expensive. And then finally, Collaborative RED, I get concerned that almost the price is too low. Is that if we're looking at ostensibly, we've been doing 10 to 12 projects at the same time, unlikely, but given the number of sites that we're dealing with over the next year, and then when we go out to bid for another round of properties later on, can someone handle this for 40,000? I don't think that's realistic. Collier and Collaborative both indicated that they would be able to, and have done this in the past, is that when the development agreement is put together between the LRA and the developer, there could be stipulations that project management fees, particularly during the construction phase, pre-development and construction phase, those costs of the LRA could be paid for by in 100% or in part by the developer. So the LRA would not necessarily be on the hook, if you will, for those costs. I do not have a bottom line recommendation. Although, if you were to push me, I would say I think, be based on the local experience and track record references, kind of the median price point. I think RAG Associates would be an excellent choice. Colliers, you're getting the top shelf, if you will, luxury brand, and the pricing to go with it. And then Collaborative RED is certainly a capable and competent firm. I'll stop with that and take any questions.
Yes, I have a question, but the other two companies notified to be here today, or that we were gonna discuss this today, they know about it? Let them know that we were gonna discuss this today.
James, can you hear her question?
I was not able to hear the question.
Sarah's asking, do you want to say it loud or you want me to say it?
My question was, is the other two candidates, knew about, we were gonna discuss this today? Because I see one of the candidates here, but I don't see the others, not in.
In my interviews, I did indicate that this would be on the agenda for this meeting. But I did not tell them that they would be presenting or needed to be present. I just told them for informational purposes that you would be discussing this.
We then decided for them to have a presentation.
No.
We had,
The presentation's already done, yeah.
the presentation is already done.
No, we're going to have a presentation, but if it's here, all the others could have been here. Right?
When the other ones, so you see. mentioned
Exactly,
it.
that's what I said, like, I'm sure they knew about it, it will be Zoom sometime.
Right.
In terms of, James, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
James, can you hear Eric?
Go ahead and try.
My question is in terms of, the cost being added to the developer side. How do we present that in terms of the projects and accepting the projects and, letting them know that you're gonna be responsible for this side of the project?
I believe that they raise a good point, and actually, I was the one who brought it up in the interview and asked them if they've had experience, and both Colliers and Collaborative both indicated that they have done this quite a few times. And during the process of negotiating the development agreement, there were clauses in there that the project manager fees would be paid by the developer. So that's definitely seems to be a standard with these redevelopment projects. And there are many precedents to it. So it's not something that is unique or unattainable.
So, James, quick question from what Mr. Walker asked, the cost associated with whoever we choose as a project manager would be floated by the developers or by the LRA? I got a little bit confused.
Can I add, because that was one question. James, the cost sharing component, what is the pros or cons of both? Because I'm saying it in terms of the project manager, correct? He's gonna evaluate a project. And at the same time, part of the money that he's gonna be paid is a portion of it is gonna be paid by the developer.
Well, they're gonna reimburse the LRA.
I mean, or reimburse the LRA, but if it's a cost sharing, they still can have an advantage. I mean, that is my question that I have. So if I'm a project person, I'm awarded based on let's say if cost sharing is included within my contract. So what would be the pros and cons of it?
So for the record, within their written responses, none of them indicated that cost sharing would be part of their funding arrangement with the LRA. This did come up during the interviews, and again, both Colliers and Collaborative RED indicated that this is something that they've done in the past. So the cost sharing or the project manager being or LRA being reimbursed by the developer for the project manager services would be negotiated with in the contract that you have with your project manager. That's something that is negotiable. If that's something that you want to put on the table, that the project manager will make best efforts to have costs picked up by the developer. Or you can go the other extreme and say, no, we don't want to have any potential for conflict, and we will pay you, and you will strictly be ours, and that arrangement will be. One way or another, it should be addressed. And my feeling is I think given that it is a standard in the industry in terms of redevelopment, that I think it's a wise, financially feasible and wise approach to get the developers to pay for these costs or a part of these costs because they could become quite extensive. And if you at a point where you're looking at if you went with Colliers who's doing this on an hourly basis, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars in fees during the pre-development and construction phases. So my concern would be it would be really a financial burden. However, having said that, both RAG Associates and Collaborative RED have come in with a fixed price, and they said no matter what the service is, we're doing it. I have a little bit of problem thinking that for 40,000 that you're going to be able to do 10 projects a year, the amount of work, and that it just doesn't make sense. I don't think the 40,000, in my opinion, is reasonable. Thus, I lean towards RAG Associates. I hope that's answering your question. I'm more doing a brainstorm with you than answering. I apologize.
Yeah, my last question in regards to the cost sharing. So the board can decide, let's say the selection, you select anyone, the board selects one of the applicants or one of the companies. We can add cost sharing as part of the contract. That's the LRA board's prerogative, correct?
Yes.
That being said, is the feeling of the board.
I have a question. RAG Associates, how many folks do they have working at their firm? I mean, we're evaluating a lot of projects here, so we'd like to know, can they keep up with the workload that might be coming their way?
I'm doing this from memory, so forgive me, but I believe they have 6 or 7 full-time employees.
Are they like architects, engineers, planners? What's those employees' expertise? Civil engineers, architects?
I believe that they have an architect and engineer on staff, but I need to confirm that.
No, because the other guys should have been more too, so we can ask them too. I'm sorry, they didn't ask anything else. No, I'm gonna say that.
Can you confirm if everyone else was notified to?
Did you inform them? Did you inform them that they were going to be in a meeting tonight, James?
Again, in the interviews, all 3 interviews, I indicated that there would be a meeting of the board tonight, and a presentation would be made, and that possibly a selection would be made that night, but I could not speak for the board, but it would be on the agenda. Yes, I did indicate that to all 3 applicants.
They want to. If anybody invite, I'm saying, you know what, you're welcome to come in.
No, we didn't have to do that because they came for the presentation.
There's no for to do another presentation, but if we're gonna ask him, we should be able to ask the others.
I think.
Can somebody get them on the phone or something?
Legally, I want a legal answer.
I mean, I do a lot of work with different boards every week. And it's up to the board. If the board is not satisfied that it has all the information it needs to make a decision, it's very simple. You ask the questions to be answered by the next meeting, and we table the matter and you get the answers, and if the answers don't come in, you table it again.
Are we giving anybody an advantage, like it was presented that we were talking about this and a possible decision was gonna be made? Are we putting ourselves in any kind of jeopardy by going ahead and making a decision if that's so, if that's what we feel we would do?
You think you have enough information to make a decision, Mr. Chairman? You can make it. If you don't, if the board members don't think there's enough information, then I think there's gonna be a process to gather that information, and then once you're satisfied, you can make a decision. So I think there've been some questions raised tonight that haven't been answered. So I don't know.
Chair, to you. I feel like we discussed this before. And also last meeting, we agreed that we were going to hire someone today.
Did we? Are we
Yes,
gonna
we
hire
did.
somebody
Yes,
today?
we did. That's, I don't understand. Some of us have selective memory here.
Well, it's possible, a lot has happened.
But we
No,
need to
no,
hire somebody today.
100%,
We're
I
gonna,
understand.
we don't even have the project going on, but we have to hire somebody today. Probably not. Probably not.
That's your opinion.
You know, like,
I haven't
what's the
finished.
rush? We don't even have the land. We don't wanna sign the project. Why are we hiring a person in
Yeah, I have to
advance already?
apologize. I'm sorry.
We need to hire somebody.
Why doesn't
So
have to be
there's
today?
Can be. I mean, again, there's 5 people on the board. You have an opinion, we might have a difference of opinion. So here's where we are. Do we feel that we have enough information? If not, we do need to take a pause and get more information. So we have to pull these numbers, and say, do you have enough information to make a decision? Yeah.
So I, just, again, just common sense, looking at the numbers. It's just math. I agree with Mr. Karas in terms of disqualification. I agree with Mr. Karas in terms of disqualification of RAG, excuse me, of collaborative RED. If you take $40,000 and you do some simple math, divided by 12, you got 3,300, you divide that by 4. He's getting paid $833 a week, divided by 20 hours per week. He's making way below what the average project manager would make. That doesn't make any sense to me. And if we went on the high side, and you do the simple math again, and you're looking at 20 hours per week, average at 300, you're looking at 68 per week. So the extremes aren't making any sense, just from a straight numbers perspective. So I was gonna say, I mean,
you have two extremes. Right. In the pool.
When he was here, we asked him that question.
Right.
We asked him, and he said, the first year is pulling permits, you might not need me at all.
Right.
That's what he said.
Right.
So it's not like it's gonna be cheap, or what I think is that we should hire who have the most experience, have done this type of project before, millions of dollars, that have architects, that have civil engineer in the group.
Right.
One, that's the way it should be, but like, it's one person, one engineer, it's not gonna do it.
That's a valid opinion, but there's also the possibility of the cost sharing, because this is gonna be a mass, we're looking at massive projects. Okay, and like you said, if we know they're gonna be too expensive, or we suspect they're not expensive enough, I think we might be able to make a decision here, especially since our agreement is gonna be based upon cost sharing, because this is gonna be expensive and some of it's gonna be shared with the developer.
To you, Mr. Chair, I also agree that these are massive projects that are gonna involve hundreds of millions of dollars and hundreds of thousands of man hours.
Right.
If we can look the cost sharing with these developers, I think we should have the experienced personnel, the experienced team to be able to project manage these developments.
through the chair. My other concern, just as importantly, is that if we are stressing hiring local talent, people from the area, and I don't necessarily see the fact that Mr. Gagnon has been present throughout this meeting and these meetings as an issue. I think how is it as opposed to anything else? And if this is how he's approaching, if this would be how he's approaching it, I would think it shows and demonstrates a lot of flexibility. in terms of having access to his expertise.
We share the same opinion. That's what I was trying to say. If we have someone that cares enough about the community, just like we do. He's been here, I didn't even know Sarah this before me. He's been here, and he's still been here attends every meeting, and he's here today.
So we
What
gotta
else
give
do
him a
we
job.
have? No. Not give him the job. We have to take that into consideration, yes.
Well,
He
especially
can
since
now.
we're not just getting the job. We also have to have the cost share portion.
And he's not gonna be able to co-share.
The board
Because
to
share is
decide.
gonna- we
The
have to
board is like-
decide first.
That's what
The
I'm
board
saying.
can put that as a condition.
Yes.
Right, exactly.
I don't see,
And that-
I
and
don't
then that
see,
was
the
in
biggest
contract.
project he had did for the city was 300 Canal Street.
That's it.
What is, what was the biggest project?
James,
Biggest
Yes.
project?
okay, in your review of the thing, I think it's written in this document, but I wanna hear it from you, because that's the reason why we're paying you, right? What projects has he done? Rag,
RAG Associates?
Yes.
I don't have the list in front of me, but I know he's done, was it a 255 canal, not canal, 255, where you're located right now, he worked on that with you in the city. It was one of the key project that I recall.
Excuse me, we're talking about the storage facility and this?
No. Can I explain?
No, please. Please, no.
Look at you. I see the Raytheon construction and rehabilitation project. I'd like a little bit more information.
what page is it?
That's on page 2. Underneath work with Methuen Housing Authority. And just as important, yeah, and so, just a little explanation on the Raytheon construction and rehabilitation project. And your prior experience with the Methuen Housing Authority.
Can we ask?
Up to the board. Yeah, if you want, you can ask.
Do we have a floor, since he's here, can we ask him? Or do we-
No.
You don't think so?
We can put a vote?
Yeah, we can do about this. So, move, yes.
You gotta get a second?
Well, we should be looking for it.
If we don't have a second, then it's gonna die.
I second.
Okay, roll call.
Ramon Pizarro,
No.
Ana Medina,
Yes.
Sara Perez, Pedro Tejada,
Yes.
Eric Walker.
Yes. Motion carries.
Can you come closer?
I'm not asking any questions.
I'd like to have a clarification on the work you've done with Raytheon construction. Rehabilitation.
Actually, total building is 300,000 square feet. We did everything from engineering it. We did everything from building inside for rating standards. We've done all the site work around it. We do have multiple people working it. I have over 16, he said 8. But I have others that work with one. Personnel in the office from, I do every site myself. One thing that Mr. Karras said was, well, what does that get us? I said, probably about 30, 40 hours a week. I go to sites 2 to 3 times a week. I didn't state that. He goes, what if you go over? I said, there's no extra cost. I'm a small company. I grew up in Walnut Street, right down the street. I was born and raised in Lawrence. I've done Wood Hill Industrial Park, 1.5 million square feet. Joe Scott, he owns the industrial park. Whittier Rehabs. I've done, multiple units of housing. I've done so many things I would have to write it down to you from this. I stand by my work, for one. I stand by what I say. I'm the first person there and the last person leave. Okay, I make sure everybody's has notification of everything's going on. If it's by email, they ask daily, or at a monthly meeting, they'll have everything in front of them at all times. They want to discuss it at the time, or just want to bring it for their own reading materials. Been doing this a long time, since 1998. My business is it's my livelihood. I take very little pride. I don't say, yeah, I'll be there, I won't be there. I don't charge it for drive time, I'll drive it telephone time. I've always done this to all my jobs. One size fits all. And, we do have all this resources. My phone's on 20%. Thank you.
Again, I think the question is, do we think we have enough information to either entertain or make a decision?
Both again.
Need a motion.
Someone has to
Do
move.
we have enough information to entertain and make a decision this evening? We have to vote on
Is that a motion?
that. No, I'm entertaining. We have a motion. The rest of the board. We have a second
A motion to table it?
to entertain and make a decision. If not, we'll have to hold on. But we have to ascertain as a group, are we ready to do that or not? Then we'll have to hold off and make a decision later. That's why there's 5 of us to really come up with a consensus.
I personally need a little more time to decide. I want to do a little bit of research on the 3 candidates.
Okay. So why don't we get a motion to table?
Motion to table the.
We have a second.
I second it.
Roll call.
Pedro Tejada?
No.
Sara Perez?
Yes.
Ana Medina?
No.
Ramon Quesada?
Yes.
Eric Walker?
No.
Okay, so. Motion fails the table. So now, where it goes, the motion to go? To approve.
Someone needs to move to hire a,
And in moving to hire, we're also stipulating with cost share, correct?
Because sharing it in the
So that we're
contract.
not on the hook completely. We have to come up with a sharing of this with whoever gets in front.
That's gonna go to the contract.
Exactly. So we have a desire to hire.
No, based on the recommendation, which company, you have to decide on which company.
Right. Based on the recommendation of our consultants.
Yes, exactly.
I just have one more question, Mr. Karas, because
Go ahead.
Mr. Karas, after you interviewed these particular candidates, it was understood that we would be making a decision today, I presume. So their failure to be, possibly making a decision regardless, is their failure to be here a lack of communication in your opinion, or just simply that they weren't proactive enough to log on? Or would you rather not even make that assumption?
I want to make it clear, I never indicated to any of the proposers that a decision would be made tonight. I clearly indicated that a report would be given, that there were 3 proposals, there were 3 interviews, and I was to deliver a report to the board. I recall saying this. I said, there's a possibility they could make a decision that night. I did not say there will be a decision made. So I want to make sure that's very clear. I never indicated that there would be a decision made tonight.
I think that the possibility, the stating possibility, pretty much says that we could make a decision. I mean, what I'm hearing is there's a possibility we could make a decision. And you may want to be there. It's your choice not to. Either log in or be here.
Well, they might have said,
it sounds like that to me, and The meeting was duly noticed. It was, on the agenda. I mean, that's what we do. I think as a courtesy, we reach out to people who are involved in the matters that are gonna be before the board.
Right.
And let them know that, your case is gonna be heard tonight. If James relayed the message, to them, they're not here, I guess. I don't know what else to say about it. But if you want to be really cautious, you could table and come back, and invite them, and then if they don't show, then you know where they stand.
You think that's reasonable as a board?
They already voted the table, not the table.
Right.
We still discussing.
But you could reconsider that. I mean, also, I just want to mention, just for the sake of argument, that the last time this matter came up, we talked about the idea that there may be multiple projects going on here around the city, and there's nothing preventing the LRA from having all three of these project managers working on different projects. So,
That being said, is it
totally up to the board.
Is it reasonable to engage one or multiple of these project managers with the stipulation of the cost sharing being passed on to our developers? Is that reasonable? No.
I was gonna say, Mr. Walker, that if it's a I mean, because it's just, my God, maybe I'm just a little too much common sense, because if we don't have enough personnel, we do have the ability as these projects progress, that if we do need more assistance, or we may need another project manager within the capacity that we do need it, within those bounds, we are able to hire another one. Would that be the case?
I mean, we can, my question, and this probably is a legal question. We have a price of each one of them. Using the suggestion you brought last time. What would be the impact on the money? Because the LRA is gonna get $1.2 million, right? And we are going to move forward with the project. The question would be, by assuming, number one, the cost sharing portion, right? And we're picking three companies, let's assume 2 companies or 3 companies. Do we have the money, for instance, to pay Collier? I don't think we do. Even with cost sharing, is something that any developer is gonna tell you the purpose of hiring a project manager
It's the control cost.
is not to do no design. It's not to do anything other than making sure on behalf of the board that can be part of the negotiation. Correct, Paris?
Yes.
Okay. Second of all, to work with each one of the projects or the developers to find out what the project timeline is. Because they're gonna tell you, like we heard tonight, they're gonna start the project and when they are gonna finish. Some of them said 5 years, others said 4, others said 3, others said 20 months. I heard. So the only person that can tell you if that will be feasible, if you have a project manager that can have oversight, that can work both with the developers and the city staff to make sure that a project begins on time, look at the progress and making sure that it's completed.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Colliers is looking at $354,000 for a 20-hour.
Over the course of how long? Yes.
That's
All those numbers,
354,000 at 20 hours a week.
that's the estimate.
That's just
based upon their.
Where are we
based
gonna
on
get
the
the money?
numbers.
Even with cost sharing? Even with cost sharing, let's take one site as a contaminated site. And Ramon, you know this.
Complicated site.
A complicated site. They're gonna juice you, right, coming in, and they're gonna say, oh, we need to go again.
So that could be $600,000.
Or let's say even $300,000, and then you're asking a company that's going after grants,
Right.
going after funding, and then say, oh, let's share the cost. I mean, would you do? Plus, the other factor is, are they gonna buy the property? What can we, and that's going into the other item that I wanted to discuss with James Callis with you. What are our negotiating? Assuming that it's the LRA receives the property, then we need to negotiate whether it's gonna be sold for $1, or it's gonna be sold for $1 million, or anywhere in between, or even more, depending on the size of the property. And remember, we did an appraisal, so we already have the numbers.
Right.
For each property.
Is it reasonable to say that one of the bidders is just too expensive?
They seem very expensive, and I mean, we all gotta protect the, citizens' money.
Right.
I think that's why we're here. Like Mr. Karras stated and Attorney Kerrigan earlier, that's not to say that if we needed a few hours from them to come in as experts, that we couldn't use them. Sure, they're not gonna say no to assisting us, because these are gonna be a lot of projects. The only reason why I'm not willing to vote today is because I felt that all three of them should have been here so we could have asked them questions, level the playing field. My feeling is what you guys share. I believe $40,000 of the event on what we're doing. So he, Mr. Gentleman here with RAC seems to have the right. But we should have him here for questions before we decide.
Right, can I entertain a motion? I guess, I don't know if it's tabling, but to get more information. And then the next time after we, again, let somebody come, if they choose not to come, then we have to make a decision on the information that we have.
I think the board can reconsider its early decision to not table. I think someone who voted to not table needs to move to reconsider.
I'll do it. I make a motion to reconsider the tabling. Make it a second.
Second.
Can we vote? Roll call?
Pedro Tejada?
No.
Sara Perez?
Table, yes.
Ana Medina?
No.
Ramon Quesada?
Yes.
Mr. Eric Walker? The motion.
But this means
The next
the next
time.
time is it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that next time we'll make sure that the
Yeah.
other people know.
Right here.
Because we don't want to make any mistakes here.
Right. Okay, after presentation, and normally you know this, attorney, and I'm doing this for the sake of time as well. Okay, because next time you guys have, and the other reason why we said, and we delegated the responsibility to James Karras, because when you sit down in a negotiating, you go to the bank, and those that even if they, I don't know if you purchase, you're gonna remodel a house, if you're gonna build the property from scratch, the bank always has someone, a person that is experienced with contracts that can tell you the numbers make sense and the numbers do not make sense. I wanna make sure that it's clear, that there's no confusion, that none of these companies are going to design anything for us unless there's a property that, assuming that you decide that one property is not going to be, there was no, what do you say, responsive bidder that has presented a viable project, and you would say the LRA wants that project.
Okay.
Then that company.
Because
and
we
it's part of-
become the developer.
Then we become the developer.
Understood.
And at that point, yes, to have an engineer, to have an architect, to have a group of people to do that. Am I correct?
One question to the chair, and final question. Now that we have Mr. Karras, just so we can have him on the record, he interviewed these people. He spoke with them. I'd like to know what his recommendation
We said already, right?
is. So he recommends.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that shows you how much attention I'm paying.
Well, you just, there's a lot of. Okay,
Okay.
Thank you, James.
I have one question before you leave. One thing that we are not considering, and we haven't spoken about, and I would like the board, whether the entire board or, we can have a committee of the board to look at the incentives, possible incentives. And maybe delegate, part of it to you. But also, I think the board should have it, because we did an assessment of the, appraisal of the property. We did the potential tax, revenue that we can get. But we need to look at the incentives when it comes to TIFs, it's a tie, if it's, what did I mention to you today? The cost sharing component, what did I mention? Workforce, the workforce working, because we have a workforce investment board here. They call it workforce board, that is there's an incentive for any developer or any company that wants to establish in the city. So we can do our due diligence in seeing what we will include in the packet. We haven't determined that as yet. But we can start working on it and stop delaying. Because we, at least this process, if we all would have went through the documents, would have been done sometime in a meeting in December.
Right.
Okay, nowhere in February. So we have to negotiate, what was your recommendation to the board tonight?
On what issue?
On the issue of meeting with the city council?
Well, I think in discussions with some of the members, gonna try to get a meeting with the city attorney and maybe city council president, one other member, not a formal visit to the city council yet, but just to get a sense of what it is that they would like to see
Okay,
from us, and try to resolve the issue without the need of.
so we can move forward.
Right, so
Board action.
that may be a question, and this is what we need to be thorough. If you're gonna sit down and talk to people, you need to be ready. Okay, otherwise it's a stall tactic. At least that's I see it, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Prepare yourself for the meeting or don't go to no meeting.
Right.
So if you're going to the meeting, I'm an elected official, the first question I'm gonna ask, so what are the potential incentives? What about the prices? Okay, we could say, we did an appraisal of each one of the properties, and this is the value of the property. But I would ask, okay, but what are your plans? So I don't think, and I think it's premature for any one of us to go and talk to anybody without having a present understanding, because it is your responsibility to know how to answer these questions. I think Mr. Karras should come up with a recommendation. We can brainstorm ourselves. You can ask any other municipality. We can do it as staff as well. But then we need to decide, these are the parameters, or, the bullet points that we can say. We can firmly say, this is what we are planning to do or planning to negotiate, depending on the strategy that we will use. Obviously, the attorney is gonna be in, James Karras will be in, maybe staff will be in, because you're a board and we can negotiate. But if we don't have the answers, doesn't make any sense to me for you to go.
No, of course not. But I do think to spell out, this is the potential for the city. And not doing it, this is the detriment. This is what we're gonna lose if we don't move.
It's a matter of opinion. Someone can come to you, but if you have data, like we did with the assessor's office. So tonight, I think Ramon caught up, you noticed that when I asked a question to one of the applicants, the developers, we already know more or less how much money we're gonna generate from one of the, let's say, each one of the sites.
Right.
So they may have a different opinion, but we know what is important for us to know to negotiate based on the price, based on the value of the property, appraised value of the property, and the potential revenue that we can get. Do you agree, James?
I heard everything you said and I agree with you. And if you notice the last 2 weeks, the questions I typically ask is I want to know what kind of incentives are they asking for or will ask for, and for them to be specific. And what I've discovered is the projects that I thought were the best prepared were the ones that were able to handle that question in greater detail. Many of them responded in very general, oh, whatever's out there, we'll work with the city to find incentives. I didn't think that was a very thoughtful response from a number of the proposers. So the ones that are most serious are the ones that are able to look at a financial feasibility analysis that makes sense. They talk about affordable housing, they talk about workforce housing. That doesn't happen without public incentives or public subsidies, right? So we really need to have a real clear understanding of the complexities of how that all takes place. And it's a good filter to decide whether the proposer is someone that you really want to do business with if they're not that prepared at this point.
Okay. Lastly, for you, attorney, I had a conversation, and for the board, I had a conversation with Mayor based on the information that you provided. I double checked. I called Andrea for me to know exactly, because I was in the meeting with the mayor. One thing I would not like this board, for the sake of professionalism, politics is one. We're not politicians here. We're here to make sure that we make the right decision for the city. Facts are facts, and lies are lies. And the mayor asked me if your position as the attorney has remained the same position that when you sat with the board and sat with him. Because he said that he's ready to make a decision, but because this is not only the city council, he would like the involvement of the city council, which he expressed at that time, but he said that he wants to make sure that our facts are straight, and I said corrected. So if we sit down at the table and someone said that we didn't follow process, the urban renewal plan, as originally before we initiated with it, follow the process. And for the record, I'm saying this. Second of all, we followed it based on your recommendation. We submitted all the properties that were within, and repeat, all the properties that are within the boundaries, we submitted to the state. The state gave us a response to the board, indicating that the minor amendment that we requested, we followed the process, and it was awarded. Correct?
Correct.
We have a second amendment, James, right? A second minor amendment. We have a second minor amendment that James has a draft. The second minor amendment involves a couple of properties. Summer Street, I believe. The police station, the old police station. Forgot which one, which other property,
Buckley Garage?
Buckley Garage. The mayor asked, what is the intent of the Buckley Garage? I said, well, we want to explore a possible addition on the top that could be office space. I mean, why not include it? And it's up to the LRA and the city whether we'll do it or not. But if the second amendment, the minor amendment, is also approved, it would be included as another phase within the first
Urban plan.
Correct?
All part of the same plan,
Part of the same plan.
but be new RFP.
A new RFP,
Same process.
same process that we go. So the work, whether with this board or would be different. And then the new, where would we get the major amendment? That's another process. We will begin now as well to identify if there's other areas within the city that we would like to include as part of redevelopment of another.
Again, going back to the 2017 plan.
So don't think the slower sometimes you go, and that's what I said since the beginning.
Right.
Dynamics changes. We have a new administration that many people didn't know that we were going to have. We received an urgent call lately. It was by our Congresswoman, Lori Trahan, that was concerned, and we're gonna have another meeting in regards to funding. So before we thought construction prices were going to go higher, right? So we're entertaining whether it's an apple is an apple or an orange is an orange. And we need to be very gracious to explain to our community and those that represent our community that an apple is an apple. So in the meantime, time goes by. So now is the second year, right? How long have you been on the board?
Year and a half.
A year and a half.
Going into my second year.
You're going to your
June.
second year, and within the second year, we have made progress. But the progress has also been a little slow. That's what I want to alert, and time goes by.
We're aware. I think that,
Okay,
you know, as we go through this process, it should get, I'm not gonna say it, but I think that we're trying to be mindful and responsible for the responsibility that we have and the money that we're gonna be exposing, the cost that we're exposing the city to, and, you know, being good stewards of the monies that was given to this board to do.
right, and that's interpreted as a result, we need to see action.
Right.
The conflict of interest. Did everybody, did the conflict of interest?
We've done it, we were trying to, as a group, because I guess we did it, it doesn't allow you to redo it until that one expires. So keep trying, I'll try again to make sure that I'm getting the error that doesn't allow me to log in. But
Because not just,
yeah,
but because most of us expire in February, it won't allow us now to put in March. However, that summary for 2025 did, was everybody able to do that one? That was easy, that was just.
Yeah, that was simple.
Yeah. That one, we didn't have an issue to do.
It was just Michael and I, Eric and I that have to do that. We couldn't do it.
Yeah.
right.
James, now that you're back, what, so you have the draft of the second minor amendment?
Yes.
You were waiting for me, correct?
Yeah, and that's being submitted to the state. I finalized it this week and I'll be submitting it to the state by tomorrow or the weekend.
Okay, and in terms of the major amendment and the master plan, you said that you were working on as well?
Well, we had decided that, or at least what my assumption was, is that we wanted to get through this process of the RFP first. And then in March, we were hoping to get this done by January, February, and then March, start with the public process for the major amendment. If you want me to start in March, I can do this at the same time as we do the RFP, because we need to reconvene the CAC. We'll need to schedule a public meeting, you know, and we need to post a survey. There are a number of things because the major amendment requires robust community engagement. And we have a plan. I just need to get a green light to say, yes, start doing it.
Do we vote to do that, or can he do it?
I think, like you said, that was the conversation. It doesn't make any sense. Because like the way I see, you know, we all are getting better at it.
Yep.
But we can't put, who said the cart?
The horse before
the horse? Okay, so we need to get things moving in order for us to start working a little more professionally, get things done,
Right.
and getting on time on both sides. I mean,
Right.
this is no blaming the staff, no blaming the board, but for us to work collectively and get better. And so far, I think you're one of them, and you, that has been in the board the longest, that is quite different than what you guys were doing.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. So we need to have our ducks in a row because we need to meet with entities in the city to make sure that we're gonna be clear to transfer these properties. Correct? So we need to be armed with the information, what we're trying to do, what the benefits will be, and if we're able to present that.
Yeah, and I think, Mr. Chairman, I mean, we're relying on James, and James, no offense taken. James is here to guide us, but if we delegate all the responsibility to James, it's costing us money as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't have, he's very reasonable with us. He's been working very effectively, but as chairperson, I think sometimes you need to delegate certain responsibility to the members. It's easily that, let's say if it's Sarah and Pedro, you can delegate them a committee to, let's say, discuss the incentives. When we come here, then you already have some information with the backing. What they would do is with staff, we would have a meeting and have a meeting with James. By the time you come as a board, you already have a decision to vote on. You can delegate the other part like we did today. You know, there was barrels that needs to be moved, delegate the responsibility, and we have things that is done.
Again, I don't know till we know, but just again, to remind us that James has been great, but we do pay him.
Yes.
Based on the work that he does, so, and again.
And
we're
honor
mindful of the
consultants
money.
as well.
Yes, exactly. Okay, right. All right.
Through the chair. Yep. Final question. So the meeting we're having, next week, I believe. Tuesday, that will be the meeting where we are going to take action on the position of the. Well,
The project manager?
No, more importantly on the line that we're going to take the city council, I believe.
Right, Brian, so on Tuesday, we're going with what we're going to do with the city council, correct? In terms of-
I'm not sure that is on the agenda.
So it's gonna be for the following, but that's good. It's good for us to prepare before the meeting. I think the agenda item needs to be, placed.
I think we talked about a special meeting for that one topic, because it's anticipated that there might be an executive session. So next Tuesday is just another round of presentations, Methuen Street and I believe 55 South Canal. And
now when are we done?
And then there's one more after that, Essex Street, and I'm not sure what other. What's the last round?
Pemberton Park.
Pemberton Park.
That's next week, though.
Yeah, but those are only two applicants, right?
And next week, the 25th.
Next week, 18th.
Oh.
One more, right?
The last one.
We'll be here.
So,
Get through Zoom.
So Mr. Chair, can you, I mean, James is going to look at the incentives, correct, James? Some of the incentives that we have for the properties. James?
Yes, I'm putting that on my list to do, is put together the incentives. And what
Okay.
I'll do is a prototypical project, and I'm not gonna try to do incentives for any of the bidders, but I'll look at, you know, if we're doing 100 units on such and such a site, here are the incentives that are possible.
And then what would be reasonable in terms of, because I saw, I mean, there's different numbers that are given. Some sites have 900, some are 600. All of that needs to be discussed because we don't have to accept a project that comes with 600, but it might be the right developers to do a project. And we can tell them, you know, let's look at a lower number of residential units.
Another concern I had, before I forget, some of these developers are talking about underground park. And we haven't discussed the underground feasibility study that those parts are going to require. And then the traffic study.
Yeah. Can we, for the next meeting, can we delegate some committees to work with James Garris on the incentives, the other ones to review each one of the projects in terms of brainstorming, could be two.
We need to discuss the underground parking. So I need a committee,
What is it?
the underground parking.
Underground parking, right?
Pedro's pretty knowledgeable when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Like he knew right away that's gonna be a challenge to do underground parking, so.
No, we don't have to look at it underground. I mean, if the developers said they're gonna do it, let them do the 50. I'm asking in terms of, the incentive, which is very important for the meeting with
With
the,
the council.
with the council.
That's the incentive.
Okay? We need to start looking at a negotiating strategy. I mean, you have the support of the staff, right? And, the city, our attorney and myself can start looking, we can do research, we have the staff that is necessary. But what are the negotiating strategy after the properties we identify the developers for each property?
Can I tap you?
Say again, I'm sorry.
I said, could I tap you for that?
Absolutely. What would I do? Oh, if I'd open it up to the floor so we can have a positive constructive discussion, that's what
Who wants to be in what?
No, so we're.
Oh, yeah,
On the property.
We're working on the properties
We're
here.
working on the properties.
You work on the property?
Yes,
You
we're
too?
gonna work on the properties. Which one are going to be, are going to be the one that's gonna benefit the city.
Okay.
Its residents.
And it would be a discussion, but at least you have seen
Yes,
each one
Right.
and then.
And if together with the.
That way we're with the packet and we go in there, we're not going in there and live.
We're looking at the incentives and negotiating strategy. That's it.
No. You don't want to do that, Sarah?
No, really, no, not bad.
I'll do it.
You wanna do it, Mary?
Yeah.
Eric and I can do it.
Okay, what else?
So what are we giving to Sarah? She's going on vacation.
No wonder.
I'm gonna send you some margaritas.
We charge because we have a lot of work. So we'll start with these.
Start with these and then.
Okay?
then we can do
Just look at the rest of these, you know,
Good.
So what was happening? So you guys are gonna choose the property?
No, we're not
We're
choosing.
gonna discuss it.
No, Sarah, we're not choosing any
Yeah,
property.
no,
We're gonna
you
discuss
want
the
one.
properties, just find out what the benefits are. We're not choosing anything without you, trust me.
Show goes on because we have meetings.
Yep.
That we need to do. Okay, so we'll put,
We don't have to meet with city council.
No, we have to prepare. We have to prepare for that.
Get prepared. And we wanna make sure you're in the picture.
Okay, you know.
I'm gonna be there.
He's
You're
gonna
gonna be there.
It's, I'm working with Eric. and we're working on incentives.
Nice.
Can I entertain a motion to close?
Motion to adjourn.
No second, roll call.
No, everybody say aye.
Eyes have it.
Night, everyone.
Good night, James, thank you.
Andrew. What can you do to fix that door?